I had the opportunity of listening to Kevin O'Leary. We all know him as Mr. Wonderful. He's one of the very tough sharks on the Shark Tank, where we also have Mark Cuban and some other very wonderful people. And there was something particular that he said. He said one of the things that he looks out for before he goes to any company, maybe there's an issue within a company system, they're not getting their sales right, they're not getting their numbers right, they're not getting, the branding right, or they're not getting anything else right. The first thing he does, besides having to get a meeting with his CEO, is to ensure that he's talking with the CMO, that's the Chief Marketing Officer, the CSO, the Chief Sales Officer, or any of the staff within that company who are actually heading teams or managing teams before he speaks with the CEOs, because he has come to a point where he realized that most CEOs already have the language, they have the communication that they require, they have the language of the board that they use to make everything look like everything is cool, everything is calm, the company is doing extremely well and all of that. And one thing he said is when he speaks to the CSO or the CMO, then at that point, he would know whether the CEO of that board or whoever the head of the board is in terms of the management now should either retain his job or get fired. I've talked about all of this story just to say one thing. I've had calls in the past couple of weeks and months to discuss with boards, talk with board members, talk with CEOs, talk with chairman of boards of companies and all that. And I've come to realize one thing. There is always a language. You ask an MD, for example, to give you the status of that particular company. He may even come with certain records and all of that, The talk is very similar. The talk is always the same. No company seems to be having it rough. Every company seems to be on the treadmill of hope, hoping that on the basis of certain metrics with which they measure their performance, the KPIs and all that, that they are going to get to a desired position. And in talking with the CEO of Bethsaida Group of Companies some few days ago, he said something. He said it's not every time that you have to call a meeting with the MD as a board chairman, for example. Sometimes you have to exclude the board chairman and his management team and talk to the grinders in the company, the people that really make things happen. I'm not saying that MDs, EDs and all of those high-flying directors and all that are not getting the job done. No, I'm only saying that sometimes what you are missing in terms of what the board or what the MD or the ED is trying to tell you, you might be getting some more solid information from people who are grinding for the company, those who are really getting the sales in, those who are getting the branding done, those who are getting the job done. And don't forget, the MD's role basically is totally management, to manage people, to manage resources, so as to deliver on certain metrics within the company. That's in summary what the MD, for example, does within the company. And of course, he must have the social intelligence and the EQ as well to be able to keep a team and to keep people together. So if as the chairman of the board, the only person you have on speed dial is your MD, you would get the MD's kind of information. You must sometimes go below the MD strata to begin to talk to people who have put in 10, 15 years in the company, who know where things go wrong and who know where things can actually go right. Sometimes you might have an MD who necessarily doesn't have the influence over the staff that are getting the job done. He might be the one coordinating a whole set of affairs, but the influence and the power doesn't necessarily rely or rest on him. There might be other key actors within the organization who are determined to ensure that the company either fails or either succeeds. Those are the people that the chairman is supposed to be talking to. It's not all the time that you call for a board meeting. Sometimes just call for a staff meeting. Meet with staff without the board, because the board of directors are actually there at the instance of the shareholders. They need to deliver value to the shareholders. They need to, of course, deliver profits. The shareholders need to be sure that the board is doing what the board is supposed to be doing. And sometimes to just fully understand what the board is really doing, you necessarily don't have to ask the board. You have to ask the grinders. those who make things happen behind the scene.